There's a lot of false logic around the way people think about property. One is trying to time the market. And look, I call it false logic because it is sort of logical. Of course, you want to buy at the bottom and sell at the top. And that's perfect if you can manage to do it. The problem is doing it, because it's really difficult to read the market. Even the experts struggle to time their sales and purchases precisely at the right moment. I know myself, some of my sales and purchases I could dine out on. Others, not so. So if I can't do it, and this is what I live and breathe, then anyone else trying to do it, they're doomed to fail. When the market slows down, instead of celebrating, what buyers tend to do is think, oh great, I'm going to now sit on my hands and wait and see. Isn't this what you've been waiting for things to slow down, to give you a breather so that you can actually have a moment to get into this market instead of being outbid all the time? But no, that's not the way most people actually react. So really it's important to understand that trying to time the market is fraught. It's really difficult to achieve. There's a hell of a lot more luck involved than good design. And if you get that out of your head, then if you focus on really just buying the right property when you're ready, then you don't have to be so head up on trying to, I guess, beat the system or game the system, because that's where people get unstuck. And there's a few other areas of false logic that I'm going to share with you now, because we only know when the market has bottomed out or peaked when it's past tense, when it's already happened. And then we can look back with confidence and see, oh, the market just peaked, oh, the market just bottomed out. But buyers fail to take advantage of this more times than not. And even when prices are falling, they're not going to fall forever. They will actually start rising again at some point. And you will hear a lot of property experts saying prices always go up. And you know what? If you look at aggregated data, that means every single sale in Sydney, for instance, or every single sale in Australia on a graph plotted over the last few decades, you're going to see that they do trend up. But not every individual property goes up in value, and they certainly don't all go up at the same rate. So what you buy is way more important than when you buy. Even in the hottest market that we've experienced in the last 30 years, in the June quarter of 2021, 8.5% of properties sold in that quarter sold at a loss. So the idea that prices always rise is a total and utter fallacy. You always need to dig deep and make sure that you pay attention to what it is that you're buying. Unless, of course, you do manage to pay a big premium right at the peak of the market, and then for some reasons outside of your control, you're forced to sell again within a short period of time. That is a recipe for losing money very quickly in property. But is it the timing that was an issue there? Or was it the fact you got over exuberant and overpaid? Or was it the fact you actually bought the wrong property? It's hard to tell. It seems fanciful, yeah, but it does happen, but probably not that often. At the other end of this continuum is another piece of faulty logic, and that is you've always got to buy under market value. I mean, what does that even mean anyway? But if you spend enough time in these property investor forums, you will hear that phrase quite a lot. Got to buy under market value or under median value. You know what? If you're buying under market value, well, you've just set market value, and that means you paid market value. But what you probably did was buy a property that nobody else wanted, which means that you bought a dog. One of those properties more likely to lose money over time or less likely to gain value at the same rate as other properties. The most important thing is not the price you pay, it's what you buy. I could get an absolute dog and I could get it for a bargain, but if I can't sell it to somebody else down the track, or I have to sell it at a huge discount in order to be able to sell it, then I haven't actually made a very good investment. If you're buying something that nobody else wants, and that's how you manage to get it under market value, unless you can fix it and address whatever it is that means it's undesirable, and you can address it at a cost that is less than the discount you got for buying the dog in the first place, then maybe if you can polish this turd into a strawberry, it's a good investment. But that's the exception to the rule in most cases. So it's back to what is market value anyway? The market value is what somebody's prepared to pay, and if you ended up being the person to pay it, you are the market, my friend. So you can go to as many barbecues as you like, you can brag about your property smarts and how successful you've been. Let's not let the truth get in the way of a good story, but you probably don't even know the truth, because this requires some critical thinking. And if you're just thinking you just have to buy under market value and that's the secret to property success, you probably need to learn a bit of critical thinking. But if you just think that buying under market value is a secret to property success, I've got news for you. But it's going to take you a long time to work it out, because that's the thing. In property, it's a long game, and it usually takes people a long time to work out whether they've actually made a good decision or a bad decision. If you happen to have made a bad decision, it's not just the dollars that it's cost you, but it's the time and what else you could have invested in that time. It's called opportunity cost. But if you made a good decision, you've used leverage and compounding and time to your advantage. It's beautiful. Another piece of faulty logic is avoiding auctions at all costs. Now sure, if you're in an area where auctions are the exception rather than the rule, that's easy to do. But if you're buying in an area where auctions are basically the main method of sale, then to avoid auctions means you're probably missing out on all the best properties. You might pick up a few bargains that have passed in, and maybe you might luck it, but you really are relying on luck rather than going with the odds. And the odds are that good properties are going to be in demand. Goes back to the same issue with the last two fallacies. Focusing on anything other than the quality of the property is ultimately going to cost you. I'm all for more truth, transparency, and trust in the property industry. If you want to join the conversation, leave a comment.